Hi guys, this is Courtney from Ruby Red Farm. I'm going to take you through over the next 9 weeks of how to raise Cornish cross meat chickens. Starting today, we just picked up our birds from the post office. If you aren't familiar, the U.S. Postal Service will ship day-old chicks through the mail, and they typically come very healthy. We really only typically lose 1 or 2 chicks. If you happen to live close enough to a hatchery, of course, you can pick them up directly from the hatchery. We use Mount Healthy for almost all of our birds, and we've had really good experience with them. But the birds are here. We're going to go ahead and get them loaded into our brooder. But first, let me show you how our brooder is set up for meat chickens. So this is our brooder. We keep it under the stairs in our garage. We will have a heat lamp. We're also going to put waters and feeders in here as well, away from the heat. In general, you want to put a couple inches of bedding in here. A lot of people start with something like paper towels or puppy pads. That's fine too. We will keep this at about 95 degrees here for the first 2 to 3 weeks. Now with meat chickens, you can wean them off the heat lamp a little sooner, but at the same time, they don't do well with extreme cold. So plan on using it at least for the first few weeks, even with these meat chickens. At the very beginning with meat chickens, you are raising them exactly like regular chickens. You need the brooder set up pretty much the same way. Let's go get the birds. So this is the type of box that the chickens will arrive in. We got 50, and so it's a 2-cell box. If you get 100, they'll ship it in as many as 100 at a time. Otherwise, they just add it to more boxes. There are holes in this, obviously, but baby chicks can survive for about 1 to 2 days without any food or water because of the nutrition that's in the egg. So let's unload these babies and get them some food and water because I'm sure they are getting hungry. So these are the baby Cornish cross meat chickens. They end up looking pretty much exactly like a laying hen at this stage. 1, 2, 3. I do like to get a count of the chickens as I go. That way I can keep track of if I lose any along the way. 16, 17, 50, 51. So they will typically send at least an extra 1 or 2 chickens. Some folks say to go ahead and dip their beaks down in water, but in my experience, they tend to find that water pretty quickly on their own. So here are these guys, already finding that water, already finding that food. Day 2 update on the babies. We just refilled that feed. They had eaten it almost all the way down. They also have pretty much gone through their waters, which is a great sign. It means they are thirsty and they are eating and drinking like they're supposed to. Everybody is healthy. Everybody's still alive after one night. It is normal to lose 2 or 3 chicks this first night, so don't be alarmed if that happens. But we are happy to say all of ours are doing great after one day. For their feed, it is important to use either chick starter or meat bird feed. The chick starter is going to be 20% protein. Meat bird feed is typically 22% protein. You want to stay in that 20 to 22% range the whole time you're raising these birds in order for them to grow enough in the 9 weeks that we'll have them. For the water, I will typically add some kind of a chick boost or a chick electrolyte mix, just really for that first day to kind of help them recover from the travel. Thankfully, again, this batch is an incredibly healthy batch. They're very active, not chirping and complaining too much, and overall they seem like they're just worn out from the journey, but doing well overall. So 1 week update on our baby chicks. We do still have a heat lamp on them. This group is super active. They're bebopping around with no problems. We are still able to get by with the 2 small waters. We fill those up twice a day at this point for 50 birds. And we are using the juvenile feeders still. Now, at this point, these chicks are a week old. They are still acting like normal chicks. That is going to change drastically here within another week. In our experience, between week 1 and week 2, these chickens switch from being normal chickens to being ravenous beasts known as meat chickens. They will start not only eating a lot more food, but they will also start consuming a lot more water. So you want to be ready for that, especially if you work away from the home. You don't want to come home and find out they're out of everything by surprise. So when you get to about this 1 to 1.5 week mark, it's really important to then start upping their feed and upping their water because they need access to it. We'll talk in a minute about how to limit their feed when you get to that point. At 10 days, we still have them under the heat lamp. We've added an extra water that's quite a bit larger. We've also switched them over to more of a feeding trough kind of a system. We will feed them continuous feed
until about week 2 to 2.5. And then at that point, we'll switch to just feeding them twice a day. We prefer twice a day rather than 12 on and 12 off. It's worked really well for us in the past. So these chicks are now 2.5, almost 3 weeks old. You can see how much larger they've gotten just in that amount of time. At this point, all they care about is food. So I've given them fresh water, but here is their feed. They start getting a lot more aggressive at this age, a lot more pushy, and they will start biting your fingers even at 2 to 3 weeks old. However, they are just doing what their brains tell them to do, which is food, 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 no matter what. Again, these guys are 2.5, 3 weeks old. They are still on 20% chick feed, chick starter feed at this point, but they are growing very, very well. We have not lost any since that first week, so I think we ended up settling out at about 47 birds right now. Do still have them on the heat lamp. We will be moving these guys outside probably within the next week. This is also when I typically have to add an extra seat at the table. I had to add an extra feeder over here because this one over here, big as these guys have gotten, that one was not enough room for everybody to grab a bite to eat. All right, the meat chickens are now 3.5 weeks old. We'll be moving them to either a bigger brooder or moving them outside soon. They are obviously very quickly running out of space. They are now off of the heat lamp. Heat lamp is gone, and they have very much entered ravenous beast phase, where all they want to do is eat. They've also gotten to the point where they're kind of mean and they bite you. Pretty much no matter what you do. They're not very nice at this phase. Pretty much until they are processed. They're not very nice, but they are now growing like weeds and ready for a new house soon. These guys are now right around 6.5 weeks old. We have finally gotten them out on pasture. This was out of necessity because of the weird cold weather we've had, and it's been so windy. We have finally gotten these guys out on pasture. They'll get a lot better nutrition, a lot more exercise these last 3 weeks of their lives. Then they'll be heading to the butcher in about 2.5 weeks, but they're digging it so far. All right, these meat chickens are in the absolute final stretch. I am taking them tomorrow night. They are doing very, very well. Finally put on some decent weight these last few weeks. As you can see, the way we raise ours, they tend to keep pretty healthy legs all the way till the end. And in general, get a lot more activity and a lot more fresh grass. So we get really good reviews from our customers. But in all, it's because they are simply significantly healthier at these end days than the birds that are raised more in confinement. So super thrilled with this batch. They're looking great so far. Last day, we made it to about 9 weeks with these guys. That's what we typically like to butcher at. So you can see they've got some good size to them, but they are still able to get around just fine. We are gonna load these up and actually take these to the Amish butcher that we use for our cuts. So I will show you that process, but fair warning, it's not usually terribly organized. Yeah, 9 weeks old. These guys are monsters. I'm gonna need help, so finish up the eggs. Okay. Get underneath there and just get them to me. I don't care which door. fun. So I'm gonna go get cleaned up. I've got to take them here in about 15 minutes. I'm gonna head out and get them dropped off. It's a pretty simple process. And then we'll pick up the meat tomorrow and I'll talk over the pros and cons of why we did it this way and whether or not we'll do it again. So hubby built me a redneck tonneau cover out of a tarp and some straps, and it's got some wood underneath. It's actually really stinking convenient and works great for this. You get some airflow so they don't get too hot. It's a pretty cool day, so that's fine. But haven't used this before today. First time using it so far, absolutely love it. Made the process way easier. All right, so with the vicious wind, I'm just gonna talk from in here. The way it works at our butcher is that we bring the chickens to them, unload, they process them, and then the day after, we can go and pick up our chicken. And so it's very straightforward. You can choose them between whole birds or cuts, and it really is very straightforward. Now this is our finished product. I absolutely love taking our chickens to these guys because they really do a wonderful job for not a very expensive price. But here are our 1.5-pound 2-pack of chicken breast with just 9 weeks. That's pretty darn good actually. So as far as raising chickens in the spring, it's not necessarily a pro and con list, but let me explain what I liked about it and what I didn't like about it. When it comes to the things that I liked about it, one, I like that we get to have chicken a lot sooner in the year. We had sold out, and so out of necessity, we really needed to get this chicken in as soon as we could. So like having it earlier. I like that it kind of puts the chickens in a time that we're normally a little bit less busy. And so instead of having it be July and August where the garden's in full swing, when it was, you know, February, March, April, we were able to truly just focus on the chickens and not have as many things going on at once. So that was nice. But overall, I don't know that I'll do it this early again. We had to keep them inside significantly longer. We lost a lot more chickens because of the cold. And we kind of know what we're doing in that respect. We raised them as late as into December last year, so we know how to deal with the cold. But we still lost more than we expected. We had an incident where the chickens, when they were probably 4 or 5 weeks old, so really kind of in a safer zone, we didn't put the heat lamp on at night in the garage, so there's no wind. And they still managed to squish into a corner, and we lost, I think, 8 birds that night. We never have big losses like that, not typically. We'll lose 1 every now and then as a fluke. And so the unfortunate thing is we started with 51 birds and we only finished 36 of them. That's a horrible rate for us. We typically, across the 9 weeks, will only lose 3 or 4 birds at the absolute most. And to lose 15, financially, obviously that's a big deal, but just emotionally, I hate that. I hate losing that many birds when it's my responsibility to take care of them. So we did learn a lot, and I do think we would lose less if we did it again this early in the year, but I still don't think I'll do it quite that early. I think I'll probably make late May as a finish the earliest that we do, so that we can get them out on pasture sooner and so that they're just a little bit healthier. All in all, happy with the turnout, happy with the amount of meat that we did get, and thrilled to be able to have chicken again for our customers. But at the end of the day, again, probably not gonna do it this early. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit subscribe, go back and watch one of your favorite videos or share it with a friend. We truly appreciate your support more than you could possibly know. This was Courtney from Ruby Red Farm, and I hope you all have a great day.